What's up, and welcome to the No Bullshit Manifestation Show. I'm your host, Kat Kozad, manifestation expert, money mindset and fulfillment coach, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur. Come sit with me while I spill the real tea on what it's like to practice using intentional manifestation, demystify all of the woo-woo and confusing bullshit that comes along with creating the life of your dreams, and give you a realistic view of what it's like to be on a personal, spiritual, and professional growth journey. The goal of this podcast is to support and guide you towards manifesting all of your dreams, shed light on the things that people are too scared to talk about, and encourage you to become the person who gets to have it all, be it all, and do it all. I am so happy you are here. Let's fucking do this thing. What's up, loves? Welcome back to another episode of the No Bullshit Manifestation Show. I'm gonna keep it so real with you right now. This is my third time trying to record this intro because my heart is racing as I am trying to speak the words that are there and on my heart, because in today's episode, I have the honor of bringing on one of my incredible friends, Lindsey, who is a hypnotherapist who recently has absolutely changed my life with a hypnotherapy experience that I had with her. Very first hypnotherapy experience that I've ever had. And I am wanting to give y'all a little background as to why it was such a life-changing and transformative experience for me. And as I've been going and recording these for the past 3 tries, my heart is fucking racing right now. And you all know that I love to keep it 100 on the No Bullshit Manifestation Show. So we're going to get there, and I'm going to share this experience with you. But I want to preface this with, in this episode as a whole, with a trigger warning that we are going to be talking about sexual assault inside of it, because that is something that I've experienced and Lindsey has experienced. So if that is something that triggers you, or something that is a topic for you that you are not able to be with, this is not the podcast episode for you. But if it is something that you are wanting to listen to and hear, then keep going, stay tuned, because we have lots of powerful things to share with you. So with that being said, I want to give you a little bit of background on my hypnotherapy experience with Lindsey and what the experiences were leading up to it that has made it such a life-changing experience. So back in 2016, I was raped by a friend, and I thought it was my fault. And I didn't share this experience with anybody for years and years because I did think it was my fault, and I felt so ashamed. I felt like I was dirty. I felt like I was wrong. It completely changed the way that I was in sexual and intimate situations with men. And yeah, just like completely changed my life. And I didn't tell anybody about it until my mom a few years later. And it was a really challenging experience that I didn't know how to process. So I just didn't. I just pushed it down, and I didn't work through any of the trauma that had happened in that experience because it felt so overwhelming to me, and it was easier to just push it down and feel wrong and dirty and all of the different things. And I can imagine for many of the women listening to this podcast episode, you may have a similar experience as well. And I want you to know that you're not alone in that experience. It's super challenging to share it or know what to do. And I'm saying what to do in quotation because there's no right or wrong of what to do. There's just how we choose to proceed with it, no matter what that looks like. But for my personal experience, I didn't deal with it whatsoever. And in 2020, ultimately ended up in another position where I was sexually assaulted by a stranger who was driving me home. And this second experience really triggered healing for me. It triggered something that I never knew I was going to face or go down. And ultimately, although it was incredibly painful, it was exactly what I needed and has allowed me to heal so many pieces of myself that otherwise I didn't know how to heal. But still within that, there was so much trauma that was still being held inside of my body associated to these different experiences that truly impacted the way that I was in sexual circumstances. And it manifested in the way that I had a mental and physical block that I could not orgasm in front of my male partner. And for any of the guys that I've slept with that might be listening to this, I'm so sorry. I faked all the orgasms I've had that I was with you, but it's because of trauma. And this is where the hypnotherapy session with Lindsey comes into play. Is I was so frustrated and so embarrassed and so in this state of feeling like something was really fucking wrong with me for the longest time because I couldn't have an orgasm with my male partner. And being able to go into hypnosis with Lindsey has created and ended that trauma cycle for me, which then created more internal safety for me to now be able to orgasm in sex, which is so fucking powerful. This is something that I've cried over so many times since it happened for the first time. And I am just feeling so beyond fucking blessed for the fact that I've gotten to this point, because after those experiences, I just held so much shame and so much embarrassment and lied to my friends and my partners and all of the different things because I felt like I was broken and I felt like something was wrong with me, when in reality, I was just holding on to trauma that was still there inside of my body and needed help to move through that experience and into the position where I can actually fully relax and feel safe and be able to surrender and receive in a way that allows me to now have really fucking enjoyable sex. So, with that being said, the power of hypnosis is insane. And this is something that I'm so grateful that I've discovered now. Honestly, wish I would have discovered it sooner, but everything happens in divine timing. So what we're going to be diving into on today's podcast episode with Lindsey is absolutely life-changing. And I hope that if any of you resonate with this or resonate with knowing that there is something that is deep-rooted inside of you that you have had a really challenging time moving through, that hypnosis is such a powerful tool to help you move through it. And Lindsey's information is going to be linked down below in the show notes so that you are able to connect with her. But with that being said, so Lindsey is a hypnotherapist that helps remove past pain, trauma, and limiting beliefs so that people can step into their true power, connect with their inner guidance, and live the life of their dreams. This woman is fucking incredible. She holds such incredible space for you, and I'm really excited for y'all to listen to her story and her experience with hypnosis throughout this podcast episode, as well as just learn more about hypnosis and what it can do to benefit you, your life, and your healing. So without a further ado, here is Lindsey. Alrighty, everybody, we have such a special guest on the show today. Miss Lindsey is here to talk with us about hypnotherapy and all of the things that come along with it. So, Lindsey, thank you so much for coming on to the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes. Yay, cool. So let's kick this thing off with you telling us about you. What is your story? What's your journey been like? And the path that has led you to be who you are and where you are today.
Perfect. I'm excited to dive deep. So I went through a bunch of different hardships and up and downs in my early 20s, and I had a ton of healing that I had to overcome myself. So kind of the whole journey that I've been on, just going through everything that I had to go through, and finding my passions and the things I loved along the way. And just this like want to help other people led me to hypnotherapy and coaching. Before I discovered, hypnotherapy, I just was so unsatisfied with my life. Like I always had this deep knowing that there was something more, and that I had this weird disconnect from like who I was and how I was showing up in this world. So I always was kind of following the crowd and doing what I thought others wanted me to do and striving to fit in. And I just felt everything just felt completely wrong. Like something was off. So I just felt so uncomfortable in my own skin. And I decided finally to take a leap on myself and go travel and do something that I wanted to do for once, which was completely different than all of my friends were doing. I quit my corporate job and decided to go volunteer and live in Bali for a little bit. And I got a lot of like negative comments, a lot of pushback, but it felt so right to me to just follow my passion and follow that. And I just had gotten to this place where I was just really uncomfortable with who I was and the life that I was living. So during that time, I was working at Nordstrom. Like on the surface, it looked like I had it all together. Like I had a fancy job, I had a large social network, like I didn't have any debt. I drove a nice car. I had a nice apartment, a good family, everything that, seemed like I had it all together. But deep down, I was wrecked, like just completely wrecked, and something was missing. And I knew it was like this self-love piece. Like I hated myself and I had no idea who I was or what I was supposed to do in life. So just going out and traveling got me on this spiritual journey and connecting back to myself. And just to dive a little bit deeper, I'm going to preface that this could be a trigger for some people. So if they, feel triggered by sexual trauma, maybe there's a skip ahead or something, but just to be as transparent as possible and, go deep within myself. I was carrying around a huge secret that nobody knew about, and a secret that I didn't even want to really believe. So my senior year of college, I was out at a bar with a homie, like a guy that I trusted. He knew I was a virgin and he didn't drink. And I remember having one drink, and I don't remember the rest of the night, but I woke up the next day, and during that moment and everything that I had worked so hard to save and to hold for someone special was completely gone. He robbed me of that, and it just completely changed my world and affected my path more than I could ever imagine. So like any, young woman who doesn't have the tools to deal with that, I did what I thought I could to cope with it. I pushed it down. I started drinking heavily. I started using drugs. And the more that I started doing that, I just got more disconnected from myself, hating myself more and more. I felt completely damaged, and I blamed myself, and I was just disassociating from everything in life. And I lost trust in myself, and this overwhelming anxiety and depression started setting in, something I had never known as a child. Like I was the happiest little kid ever, like so alive, finding anything and everything to do, to just live my truest expression. And that all changed so quickly. So I basically tried talk therapy, never resonated with me. I never saw any relief from it. I just kept getting in this cycle of like losing hope. And I decided to go travel. That was the first thing that I did to kind of get back to myself. And on that journey, I somehow came across a podcast one day from Jess Lively. Do you know who that is at all? She's in the manifestation area, just like you. And she has a lot of influential people coming on her podcast. And I just became obsessed, like literally watching every YouTube video I could, listening to every podcast. And somehow one of the, I don't know what struck a chord, but I was like, I think I'm going to invest in one of her courses. And it was, I want to say it was like $300. And at the time I was so broke, but I was like, I felt so guilty doing that. And now looking back on it, I find it funny because I love investing in myself now, but it was honestly the best thing that I did, because it opened up my world to this path that I'm on now. And I came across Marissa Peer, which is who my professor is. She's the one who developed R.T.T, rapid transformational therapy, which is the hypnotherapy modality that I'm trained in. And I listened to a masterclass that Marissa Peer was on one day, and it resonated, like it hit home. But because I had done the Just Lively course, I was feeling better than I had ever felt before. And so I just kind of pushed it down. I was like, I don't need this. And then one day I went on a date with a guy, and he totally triggered me in that past sexual trauma from my college years. And I was at my job, and no joke, had a panic attack on the floor. I'd never had like a full out panic attack before, but my legs just gave out from underneath me. I collapsed on the floor. I thought I was having a heart attack. And one of my friends who I was working with like caught me, and it was so embarrassing because the whole restaurant was looking at me like, who is this girl who just collapsed on the floor? And they had to rush me to the hospital. And the next day I just woke up feeling completely numb and, disconnected from myself again, on medicine, having no feelings, and just like wondering, this is not the path that I want to be on. Like, I thought I was doing so well and I had changed, but clearly there was something that was still triggering me and was still holding me back. And I just felt completely stuck. So I decided to stop taking the anti-anxiety medicine. And I was like, I don't care what it takes. Like, I have nothing to lose at this point. Like, this is not life. So I decided to look into getting an R.T.T session, a hypnotherapy session on my own. So I found someone in San Diego. That's where I was living at the time. And it just was a complete game changer. Like, the single best decision I've ever made in my life. It wasn't until I discovered R.T.T that I was actually able to heal from that past sexual trauma, move on, and step into a different life that's filled with happiness and joy, like something I hadn't experienced for like a decade. And I just feel so much connection to myself and understand who I am at such a deeper level. And it was a game changer. So basically, I saw a huge, tremendous change, went back into the corporate world, and just kept like feeling like I needed to do that. And if I could change my world so drastically, like, there's other people that could be going through the same thing that need help and need guidance. And if I could be the one to help them get through that, it just felt so right on such a deep level. So I just remember like exploring all the things that I loved, which is like meditation, law of attraction, manifesting, inner wisdom work, and intuition, and helping people grow into who they want to be. And R.T.T was that choice. So I finally decided to just jump in and do it. And it's the best career choice I could have ever made. And I just absolutely love it. And yeah, that's kind of my journey. And yeah.
So powerful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us.
Absolutely.
Something that came up for me as you're sharing it is like, I know you've said this to me in the past that our stories are very similar, and I didn't realize how similar they were until right now. So it's super powerful just for like the two of us to come into that space of like connection, but also knowing that it's like, there's so many women who are going to be listening to this podcast episode that relate with everything that you just said.
Absolutely.
And one of the biggest things that stood out to me as you were saying that is like talk therapy didn't work for you, because talk therapy did not work for me either.
Oh, it didn't?
I was seeing little shifts and changes, but it would always be like 6 months, felt okay. And then like back to the drawing board, back to where I was before, but feeling even worse because I was given these tools during talk therapy that didn't work for me. And it's so powerful for both of us to have been able to step into these areas where we found the thing that actually fucking works for us.
Right.
And to be able to share that gift with the world now. So for anybody who's listening, who's unaware of what RTT is and what hypnotherapy is, what is it and why is it important?
So hypnotherapy is essentially hypnosis in combination with therapy. It's accessing your subconscious mind at a different level than regular talk therapy does. So when you do talk therapy, you're just in a conscious state, accessing, the very surface level emotions and how you're feeling. But the subconscious mind controls 95% of your life, and it holds everything that's ever happened in your life. It's basically your supercomputer. So in hypnotherapy, we access the subconscious mind, and it's a combination of neurolinguistic programming, psychotherapy, CBT, neuroscience. It's kind of combining everything so that you can get to this point within yourself that you didn't even know, this awareness, this deep inner focus, and pull out limiting beliefs and pains and trauma that affected you from your programming of the age of 0 to 7, or even in your adult life that you didn't know hit you at such a deep chord. So it's incredibly effective, and you're able to access the deepest parts of yourself to remove everything that is just simply no longer serving you, and then reprogram your mind in a way to work for you. It just, your subconscious mind believes everything you tell it. So it doesn't judge, it just believes it. It takes everything literally. And oftentimes we speak to ourselves, even on a daily basis, that we know it's not real. Like you could say, you could do something silly and stub your toe and be like, oh, I'm such an idiot or something, but that hits home. Like your subconscious mind is listening to that. So we really work during hypnotherapy to pull out everything that's holding you back and release it and reprogram your mind so that you can create the life of your dreams and feel happy and feel so connected to your inner truth and your inner knowing and power.
So powerful. I was telling this to Lindsey yesterday because I actually did a hypnotherapy session with Lindsey yesterday.
Thank you so much.
With how much inner work I've done, a lot of the times it's super interesting to go into a situation like that. And it almost, at least in my experience, and not to say this to scare anybody away from it, it almost feels like a psychedelic experience because you are in a different trance, like you're in a different state. And Lindsey was guiding me through different questions and suggestions, and there was so much clarity in every single moment. And it was such a transformative experience for me to see it firsthand, because that was my first hypnotherapy experience. And so, question for you, Linz, is how does hypnotherapy compare to other forms of rewiring the subconscious mind, or how is it different compared to other forms of inner work?
So, I think there's a different path for everyone in the stage that they're in and what resonates with them at that time. I think they're all beneficial. Like awareness and gratitude helps to reprogram the subconscious mind. Switching up your environment and getting to a place that's more positive helps. Visualizing, daily after affirmations help tremendously. But I think the part of hypnotherapy that just is really effective in reprogramming the subconscious is it is the deepest awareness of yourself, because you're in this trance-like state. Whereas when you're practicing gratitude or, affirmations, reciting affirmations or journaling, those are all at a conscious level. So while they are helpful and they definitely help, like I practice all of those. When you're in hypnotherapy and in this deep trance-like state, you have so much more clarity around what the actual issue is, because your conscious monkey mind, that thinking, analytical brain is turned off, that judgment mind turned off, and you're able to see the pain and what situation affected you at such a deep level and be able to understand it so much more clear, because you don't have all this other stuff that's going on outside. Like you have such an inward focus in that trance. And I think too, it's just learning, like you might have felt this a little bit, like some of those situations that come up when we go back to different scenes in hypno, when you're 7 years old, you don't understand the world like you do as an adult. So you take in situations and you form this belief that it's all your fault, because the people that you trust and love and who are supposed to be protecting you and caring for you and meeting your needs are, not doing that. So you take it personally. And when you go back to those scenes as an adult with all of the awareness and all of the learnings that you've acquired through life, you're able to understand like, oh, that shouldn't even be a thing anymore. Like I can actually let that go, because that belief is just fucking wrong. It's false, like you just get such a deeper connection when you're in this deep trance and this deep connection with self.
Yeah. So I'm super curious. Like you said, the subconscious mind makes up 95% of the human brain. And I know that majority of it is molded between ages 0 to 7. So outside of that age range of 0 to 7, are there different experiences that form our subconscious mind or form the different beliefs and experiences that we have in our life that then continue to manifest from that point? Or have you seen that typically majority of those things do happen ages 0 to 7 that then create the reality from that point?
So basically from the age of 0 to 7, you are a sponge. You are absorbing every single thing that comes into your reality, and you're forming beliefs based on everything that happens. And those beliefs are just creating neural pathways in your brain to show up. So it's essentially activating a part of your mind that when you believe a certain way, like everything in your reality starts to show up as that. So if you have this core belief that you're unlovable, after the age of 7, you're going to keep seeing situations come up proving to you that you're unlovable. Like that is going to be your perspective. And basically it's just going to keep digging that pathway a little deeper and ingraining it a little deeper within your mind. So you definitely can, after the age of 7, still get new beliefs, new limiting beliefs forming. But 0 to 7 is like that age range where it's like everything is just, you're soaking it in and you have no perspective and the emotional capacity that you do as an adult to be like, that's not true. You don't have that discernment as a child. Whereas when you're an adult, something can happen to you that's super negative and you can look at the situation and be like, they're wrong. I don't believe that. And you can kind of push it away. But when you're a child, you soak everything up.
Absolutely. So I'm super curious, and if you feel comfortable going to this place of like what happened with your sexual assault, from that experience, what did you recognize happened for you on a subconscious level that was like something that you had to work through?
So through that experience, I lost trust in myself and in men. I completely shut down sexually. So I wasn't able to show up in relationships or form deep connections with men because I had this belief that they were going to, take advantage of me somehow and use me and make me feel like shit. So I wasn't ever able to let guys in after that. I also feel like because that happened, I had this deep belief that I just was broken and I was unlovable. So when I would go out on dates, my confidence was lacking so much. And it honestly affected every relationship because I didn't love and trust myself. And it didn't even just show up in relationships. It showed up in the workplace. It showed up in literally every area of my life.
Yeah.
It showed up in my money. It showed up in my health. Like I stopped caring for myself. I had this disconnection from self completely. And all of those emotions were causing my health. Like I basically had like a whole year where I was just like a zombie and I had every health concern there could be. Money, like I couldn't trust myself, so I wouldn't invest in myself. I always thought that it was going to, like, if something good was going to happen, something bad after that was going to happen. Like we kind of talked about that yesterday. Whenever I would get a job, I would just not show up as my true self because I could get taken advantage of. And that was my reality. It showed up in every area.
Yeah. I think, first of all, thank you so much again for sharing all of that with us, because one of the biggest things that I always recognize with the work that I do and the women that I work with is that the way one event or one belief or whatever it is then manifests, it's not just directly in that area of our lives. It's in all areas of our lives.
Absolutely.
And one of the biggest things that I always say is like money manifestation oftentimes has absolutely nothing to do with money as a money manifestation coach, because it's like this experience, any experience that has led us to believe something about ourselves that isn't empowered or true to our core, it leads us in these different directions. So in addition to the experience that you're just sharing with us, has there been any other super challenging limits or beliefs or experiences that you've had to overcome on your journey to be who you are and where you are today?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many through the schooling that I've done. I've had to be the therapist and then also, have someone work on me as well. So I've worked through a lot of different things that are kind of all intertwined. Definitely this belief that I wasn't enough. Like that is a core belief that a lot of people have, and that shows up in so many different areas of your life. A core belief that I was unlovable, that I didn't deserve love. And some of that came from situations that happened with my brother growing up. And that also intertwined with the sexual trauma that I went through and just feeling like guys or men are always going to disappoint me and that I'm not good enough for them. And also to another big one is a few things happened when I was a little kid, and I formed this belief that it's so scary to put yourself out there and to get attention. I used to love to get attention, and I formed this belief that it's scary. So whenever I had an opportunity to step up to the plate or get attention, I would completely self-sabotage and just run away from that completely. And I still work on that every day. I want to step into this place where I'm just, going big, going bold, but I have to work on those limiting beliefs and reprogram my subconscious to get to a place where I feel comfortable expressing my true self, having a voice, and showing up.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And I love
the transparency you bring to the table of like, it is a continual work in progress things, because one of the biggest misconceptions that I've heard about hypnotherapy is that it's like one and done. You sit in that session and then like everything's magically fixed. And that's definitely something that I have heard a lot of people experience, or their conception of hypnotherapy be. So, what are some of the most like common misconceptions out there around hypnotherapy?
There's a bunch. I mean, to go back to what you just said about it's one and done and you're good to go and life is just going to be, this fairy tale magical moment after that. Hypnotherapy definitely is so effective compared to other forms of therapy where it is a lot quicker. Like you're able to access it at such a quicker, deeper level and have instant improvement. However, with that being said, if you can imagine 7 years of programming, and then on top of that, let's say, like for me, I was in my 30s, 30 years of limiting beliefs all getting intertwined. Like you don't just get one session and you're done and healing's over and you've won the game. Like that's not how it works, like once, like in my personal opinion, like what I found is like, I would work on one thing and then I would understand and get triggered again and understand that there was another area weaving into that I also needed to fix. But with that being said, you probably won't need 600 sessions like you might with talk therapy.
Totally.
But I think the biggest, some of the misconceptions are so funny about hypno because you'll see these movies. Like I watched one a few months ago and I forget the name of it. It was really silly, but it was about this hypnotherapist basically brainwashing this woman to like fall in love with him. And she had no idea what was going on during the session. And people think that when they're getting hypnotized, that they're completely unaware and the hypnotist can take full advantage of them, make them do things they don't want to do against their will. And the fact is that is absolutely false. Like when you're induced in hypnosis and I give you a suggestion that you don't feel is right, like you can say like, that's not it. Or, if I were to say like yesterday in the session, hey Kat, will you go rob a bank for me and get me $1 million? Like you would have been like, no freaking way. Because you're still aware in the moment. You're still completely in control. It's just a natural state. So I think it's funny that people think hypnosis is scary because you're losing all your control and people are basically like hacking into your brain and forcing you to do things that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Let's see, other myths. I think like a lot of times people think that when you're in hypnosis, you're asleep or you're completely unaware, but actually it's more of this natural state where you just have intense inner focus and you remain responsive. Like you didn't fall asleep yesterday at all. Like you were fully conscious, but you're just in this trance-like state that when you come out of it, you're like, whoa, I didn't even know I was that deep,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's like coming back out is like my entire body felt different. Yeah, it was just such a interesting experience for me because I definitely have done like other energy work, a lot of somatic healing, and there were a lot of similarities in what I've done in the past to hypno, but in a completely different way, which like doesn't really make sense unless you've actually done it. So anybody who's listening, it's like, give it a go. Give it, like, if this is something that you're interested in, definitely give it a go, because if you're on any sort of healing journey of any sort, this is such a powerful tool to have in your tool belt in addition to whatever you're doing right now. So Lindsey, one last question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What is one piece of no bullshit advice that you could give to our listeners who have resonated with this message?
That's such a powerful question. I think the best piece of advice that I can give your listeners, if this is resonating, is that this is your life and you don't have to settle for a life that's full of pain and suffering. Like, anyone can change, anyone can achieve greatness and be their best self. Like, I had this deep feeling that this was just how life was going to be and I couldn't change. And I was just dealt a shitty deck of cards or a shitty hand. And that is so false. Like, everyone has the ability to change and be who they want to be. So just, if you need a permission slip, here it is. Like, I give you permission to step into the person that you want to be and change to who you want to be.
So fucking powerful. It's so true. And as you say that, I get the chills because it's just like, I could not resonate with that more. That was my exact reality too, of like feeling like, well, just dealt a shitty hand. Like, guess this is what life has to look like for me while everybody else gets to enjoy it. And just like Lindsey has said throughout this episode, it's like, that's not the reality. And there are incredible tools out there. If there's something that you're doing that hasn't worked for you, there's other ways to approach it that will work for you and help you get to the place that you want to be. And for anybody who is interested in connecting with you and the work that you do, Linz, how can they find you and where can they find you?
So they can find me on Instagram. My IG handle is Inner Linz, and that's INNERLIND with a Z. I'm also on TikTok with the same handle. So yeah, come find me. I'd love to connect.
Yay. Amazing. And I will drop all of those down below in the show notes. But thank you so much for coming on to the podcast and sharing all of these wisdoms. So awesome. Yeah, of course. This has been incredible.
Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I am so grateful to have these no bullshit talks with you. If you enjoyed today's episode or the podcast as a whole, please spread the love by leaving me a review on iTunes or sharing the podcast with others. This is how I will be able to spread more of these good vibes and be able to make more of an impact on the lives of others. And if you're not already part of all of the goodness and communities that I have to offer, check out the show notes. I have links to the different ways that I can support you on your manifestation journey and help you live a life full of more money, fulfillment, and freedom. But that is all for now. So big love and hugs, and I will chat with you soon, babe.